Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. It's the best day of the week. It's Star Wars Talk Tuesdays, where all we're going to do here is sit here and talk about the very greatest thing ever conceived of by mankind in the history of the universe and the galaxy and the heavens above, Star Wars. We're talking all Star Wars here. And of course, my name is John Campea. I am your host today. And thank you for joining me here today as we talk about the greatest thing the world and mankind has ever created, which is, of course, Star Wars. This is just like the John Campea show that runs any other time, every other day of the week, except all we're doing today is talking Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. So we got a lot of Star Wars stuff to talk about here today. And I'm so glad that you guys have decided to come along for the ride today. Now, here's how today's show is going to go. I've picked out 5 topics that you guys have emailed into me. How do you get a topic or a question on Star Wars Talk Tuesdays? It's simple. Just email me anytime at john@thejohncampeashow.com, but make sure you put in the subject line, put SWTT. Once again, put SWTT. That, of course, stands for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Put that in the subject line, or else I'm not going to see your emails as they come in. So make sure that's in the subject line. Of course, as always, guys, keep your emails to 90 words or less. As short as possible is the best, or else I wouldn't even be able to fit them on the screen, even if I wanted to. Now, before I go on with the show today, I might have mentioned this a few days ago, but I thought I should mention it on Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Now, some of you guys will remember that the last couple of Star Wars films, The Force Awakens and Rogue One, I had been very fortunate and lucky enough to actually be invited to the world premiere of those things. And for me, going to a world premiere of a Star Wars film is a bucket list thing. I mean, that just makes my life, right? That my life is made. Check, I'm done, I'm happy. I can die happy and everything's good. Now, remember though, at the time, I was working for big name companies, like where the AMC Theaters, Complex Media, which of course owns Collider. And so I'll be honest with you, I wasn't sure if I was going to get invited to the premiere of The Last Jedi. That I was just not so sure of. However, I'm not going to show you the whole thing because it gives away some information, but this little thing came in the mail for me the other day. I'm going to be going to the world premiere of Star Wars The Last Jedi, of course, on December 9th. I'm ecstatic. I am just so excited. And I think the only person who's excited as me is, of course, Anne. So Anne's already shopping for the dress she wants to wear to it and all that kind of stuff. And it's always a great time, so I'm super excited about that. I'm going to see if I can do some live streaming from down there and maybe, take you guys with me as we go. Virtually, of course, not literally. But anyway, so with all that excitement out of the way, let's get to the first Star Wars topic of the day. And the first topic today comes to us from our good friend, Paul Stephenson. And Paul Stephenson writes, "Greetings from Liverpool. I've heard you say that The Last Jedi won't make as much as The Force Awakens at the box office. However, now we are getting more Luke than last time," talking about the news trailers, "and the last chance to see Carrie Fisher as Leia. Won't those two factors alone be enough to make more? I personally think it does." All right, well, thanks a lot for the question, Paul. And you know what? Look, I totally see where you're coming from. I absolutely 100% see where you're coming from on that. And those are two legitimate points to bring up. Now, of course, when the question comes, do I think The Last Jedi will make as much as The Force Awakens? I don't. That has nothing to do with how good I think the movie's going to be. I think the movie's going to be amazing. I can't wait for it. We're simply talking about the dollars and cents of it. When The Force Awakens came out, there was so much newness and so many things to be excited about. The return of Star Wars, especially coming out of the dark days of the prequels and things like that. And Star Wars was back. And of course you had Harrison Ford pop up on screen, although we all knew it wasn't going to be about Harrison Ford. But there was all that kind of stuff that, associated with it that we were all excited about. And it was great. I loved it. But now we're in The Last Jedi, and I just don't think those same things are going to coalesce into this. And look, The Last Jedi is going to make huge bank. It's going to be the biggest box office film of the year. No doubts about it. I don't think there's anybody out there with a grain of sense that doubts that The Last Jedi is going to be the biggest box office film of the year. Absolutely will be a huge smash success. I just don't think it's going to cross the $2 billion mark. I mean, that's just where I'm at. I hope I'm wrong. Now, the two things you bring up. One, we're getting more Luke in the trailers. Yes, we are. That's a good thing. However, we did have that with The Last Jedi, or with The Force Awakens as well, except we had Harrison Ford. I think they're starting to realize we need to put more Mark Hamill in the trailers. We need more Luke in the trailers. Absolutely. So we'll see how that pans out. Now, the Carrie Fisher thing. There's a couple of reasons why I think going into The Last Jedi, for people like you and me, the fact that we know we're going in to watch Carrie Fisher for the last time as Leia, I think, again, for people like you, for people like me, for people like a bunch of us who are watching the show right now, that absolutely adds a bittersweetness, but within the bittersweet, something very special for us about getting to go and watch this movie again. And it adds to the anticipation, again, in a bittersweet kind of way. However, will it make a huge difference to the average film-going fan who aren't necessarily big Star Wars fans? My initial thought is that, Carrie died, we're getting close to a year ago now that Carrie died. Hard to imagine. But it was about a year ago. And I think most people who would really look forward to going to see Carrie play Leia one last time, I think those are people going to see The Last Jedi anyway. I think to anybody out there who is thinking this is a really special, who understands how special this is, that we get to go and watch Carrie one more time on screen as Leia. For those of us who know how special that is, to those of us who know that that's something to look forward to in a bittersweet way, we're all going to the movie anyway. I don't know, to the people who had no plans on going to see The Last Jedi, if they would necessarily care, if it would mean as much to them that it would motivate them to go, oh, I wasn't going to go see Star Wars, but now I'll go see Star Wars because I get to see Carrie for one last time. I think those of us who understand how special that is, we're going to go see the movie anyway. So I'm not sure. Let's put it this way. I hope you're right. I hope you're right on this, and I hope I'm wrong. This is one of those things where I'd be thrilled to be wrong about this. And, look, you make a couple of really good points that I'm not dismissing them. I don't necessarily subscribe to those beliefs that you have myself for the reasons I just stated, but they very well could be real, and they very well could work out that way. And who knows, maybe we see an extra onrush of people coming out to see The Last Jedi because they want to see Carrie again. Maybe that's the case. I sure hope that's the case. What do you guys think? Do you think the fact that they're putting more Luke in the marketing and the fact that this is going to be the last time we get to see Carrie playing Leia, do you think that will kind of turn the tide and make The Last Jedi have even more people want to come out to see it than went out to go see The Force Awakens? I don't think so, but maybe they will. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section below. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next topic today comes to us from Seth Perkins, who writes, "Hey John, when I first saw the Phasma versus Finn tease, I thought it was cool, but now I've got one concern. If she gets the best of Finn without killing him, then we have the second film in a row where Finn has been wounded in the movie, and you begin to question if it's worth having him there. What's your winning situation for a Finn and Phasma fight in The Last Jedi?" Well, I mean, look, actually, you know what? I disagree. I've had this discussion with a couple of people now, that the idea, you guys heard me kind of rant on this before. I recently read the Phasma book, right? The novel on Phasma. It's quite a good book. It's not as good as Lords of the Sith. It's not as good as Lost Stars, but it's a really good book. And it gives me a much deeper appreciation for Phasma. And it kind of makes me hope we see the character Cardinal as well. I'm dying to see this character Cardinal on screen rather than just in the book. But one of the things the book really does lay out is that aside from Force users, Phasma's the baddest man on the planet. To use a UFC terminology. Phasma is the baddest person in the galaxy. Ain't nobody going toe-to-toe with Phasma and coming out alive. I mean, that's just the way the book kind of sets it up. She is the best of the best. So when I look at the trailer and I see Finn and her having a confrontation, a physical confrontation, and I think that, well, we just saw Finn in a confrontation with TR8, or T8R, Traitor, right? The guy with the crowd control baton. And he beat Finn. Well, if that guy beats Finn, then you damn right that Phasma, baddest person in the galaxy, better beat Finn. So, I mean, there's no question there. She's got to beat Finn. You have to. If you don't, then you've just ripped up the legitimacy of the novel series. Then you might as well just say that the novels aren't really canon. Because if you're trying to tell us that the novels are canon, then that character, Phasma, she can take on the best of the best. She could probably go hand to hand and maybe win in a fight against Chewbacca, let alone a fight against Finn. So, that raised some people saying, well, God, I mean, if he loses another fight, then what's the point of him? Hey, look, the value of great Star Wars characters is not that they're all warriors. You think Han can go toe-to-toe with Darth Vader? You think Han could go into a hand-to-hand fight with Boba Fett and survive that? You think Han could get into a fight with Phasma and win the fight? No, absolutely not. What you think, like one of the most beloved characters, two of the most beloved characters in all of Star Wars fandom is the only two guys who've been in every single Star Wars movie, R2 and 3PO. You think they're good in a fight? I mean, yeah, they're fighting scarily a scrum, but I mean, that's one thing. But you think they're going to take them into a fight? Are they going to fight? No. The value of a character is not just on, are they the best fighter in the galaxy? That's not necessarily the thing. Sure, Poe is the greatest star pilot in the galaxy. Okay, great. So that's one of his things. But not everything about every character, they don't only have value if they're great fighters. Finn is a great character in these movies. And like his courage, his perseverance, his loyalty, it's all these things that make him great. It's not that, oh, he's the best fighter in the galaxy. So I don't think we should undermine Finn's, or I should say Finn's value as a character if he goes into a fight with Phasma and loses a fight to Phasma. Guess what? Every character, short of a major Force user, is going to lose that fight. Everyone. So if Finn goes in that fight and loses, that's no shame on Finn. That's no shame. It's like me walking into an octagon and I'm going to go in and fight Brock Lesnar. Guess what? I'm going to be able to avoid Brock for about 20 seconds because I'm running away. And at some point, he's going to catch up to me. And when he does, he's going to fold me in half like a cardboard box and then stomp on me. That's the way it's going to go. And guess what? There's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. A lot of people I can step into an octagon with and win. I'm going to get my ass handed against a real fighter like that. I'm going to get my ass totally handed to me. And there's no shame in that. You would get your ass handed to you by Brock Lesnar. And there's no shame in that because he's one of the best in the world. He's one of the best combat practitioners in the world. You losing to him, no shame. Finn losing to Phasma, no shame whatsoever. So I don't think we need to look at his value as being tied in as to whether he wins a fight. I want us to look beyond that to the value of the character. That's just my opinion. All right, let's move on to the next question. And the next question today comes to us from Mark H. And Mark H. writes, "Hey, John, Kathleen Kennedy said we're getting more movies with Rey, Finn, Poe after Episode 9 on the Star Wars show. But then Rian Johnson says he's helming a new trilogy. What gives? How many trilogies are we getting? Am I missing something? Or are there around 9 more movies in the works after The Last Jedi? Thanks, and keep up the great work." Well, thanks a lot for the question, man. And yeah, I mean, that is one of the things. I remember when I first heard, when I first heard that Rian was doing a new trilogy, my mind just automatically flipped a switch to he's doing the new trilogy. Not a new trilogy, he was doing the new trilogy. So my assumption when I first heard was that, oh, then that means Rian Johnson's doing episode 10, 11, and 12. Great, that's fantastic. But it's not. He's doing another trilogy. And the story of Finn and Rey and Poe is going to continue. I assume those are going to be episodes 10, 11, and 12. And then we got a new trilogy with Rian Johnson. On top of that, we have these standalone anthology films coming. And you know, I've said for a long time that I don't think we're going to get into seeing Star Wars doing 2 films a year. But if things are the way they look, that they are continuing on with episodes 10, 11, 12, and Rian Johnson is doing another trilogy on top of that, and we're still going to get standalone films, whether it's an Obi-Wan movie or whatever other types of movies they may be doing, we may be looking at, oh my goodness, that maybe they will start doing 2 movies a year. Which, Again, I don't think they should. I kind of like the specialness of one movie a year, but as a Star Wars fan, I won't complain if they do two. I won't complain about it. I don't necessarily think it's the right move, but it might be something they need to do. That might be a reality that we have to start looking at, that they're going to go into. And I'm very excited that this dude is doing a new trilogy. I'm very excited to see The Last Jedi. Everybody seems extremely happy over at Lucasfilm and Disney with the job that Rian Johnson did. So happy, of course, that they went ahead and gave him a new trilogy, which I guess explains why when they needed a new director for Episode 9, because remember, I was a little confused by that. When they dropped, the director they had for Episode 9 and they were looking for a new director, it just seemed to make sense. We'll get Rian Johnson. He's wrapping up on 8. Everybody seems to love him. And on the books, Rian Johnson has no other movies lined up to direct right now. Get Rian Johnson to do Episode 9. And when they said J.J. Abrams, I'm totally comfortable with J.J. Abrams doing it. I think that's great. But I remember thinking, gosh, I wonder why they didn't just get Rian to do it. Now we know why. Because he's going to be prepping and getting ready for a brand new trilogy, which is super exciting. But yeah, maybe we're going to go to 2 a year. Maybe we will go to 2 a year, which again is not the end of the world. I mean, look, Marvel puts out 3 a year. Fox is putting out 3 a year. Warner Brothers ain't putting out another one for at least a year, so I guess we'll take them out of it. But I guess it's possible. We'll see how that all turns out. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. And the next topic comes to us from Adam Watson. And Adam Watson writes, "Hi, John. Greetings from sunny Scotland. If this new trilogy is taking place in a corner of the galaxy not explored before with brand new characters, do you think we will get Jedi and Sith or something else? I just can't imagine a new trilogy without some sort of Force user. Can you?" The answer to that question is, yeah, I can. I totally can. Don't get me wrong. I love my Force users. I really do. But from everything I understand, there's not going to be any Force users in the Han Solo movie. Except for Vader's appearance at the end, there was no Force users. Well, Chirrut, I guess you could say, was a Force user, even though he was no Jedi. But that's the great thing. I keep saying this. That's one of the great things about the Star Wars galaxy, and why I get frustrated when I hear them just saying, the next movie will be a prequel about this guy, and the next movie will be a prequel about that guy. I say, come on, the Star Wars galaxy is so big and so vast, not just in terms of space and planets, but also of time. The Star Wars, the Republic and the Old Republic goes back thousands of years. There are so many stories you can tell, and they don't all have to involve Jedi. They don't all have to involve Sith. Now, again, I love my Jedi stories and I love my Sith, but they don't all have to be that way. And I'm really hoping that the Han Solo movie kind of shows that. That we can get into it, tell these great stories, and go beyond that. I want to see stories about smugglers and struggling planets and explorers and frontiersmen in the new outer reaches of the galaxy. I mean, there's so many cool stories to tell that doesn't have to be Force users. Now, that's not to say that Rian Johnson won't be telling stories that involve Force users. He might. We don't really know anything in stone yet about what his movies will be. So anything is possible with that movie, as long as it's not Jar Jar Binks. I see a lot of people saying chat bar, as long as it's not Jar Jar, as long as it's not Jar Jar, then I guess we'll be okay. All right, let's move on now to the final email question of the day. And once I'm done with this email question, guys, I'm going to want your Star Wars topics and questions. For those of you guys who are watching live, there's almost 1,000 of you guys watching live right now. I'm going to go to you guys who are watching live, and I want to take your live thoughts, opinions, and questions about Star Wars. Simply tweet to me at John Campea. Keep your tweets as short as possible, but fire off your tweets to at John Campea. Send those in. I will get through as many tweets as I can. Maybe you'll see your tweet at the bottom of the screen here. So we'll get to those in just a second, but start getting ready to fire those in. All right. Last email of the day. And the last email today, this is the big one, comes to us from Muhammad Ifran, who writes, "Hi, John. Big fan from Malaysia." Well, thank you so much, Muhammad. My question, have you played Battlefront 2 campaign? What do you think about the possibilities that Rey's parents are Del and Iden? And oh my goodness. Okay, look, today is finally the day for me. Today is the day that I am finally downloading to play Battlefront 2. I have just been ridiculously busy with a whole bunch of stuff, and I have not had a chance to just sit down at my computer here and download the game. Yes, I'm playing it on PC. I'm not much of a console gamer. I play some console, but not very much, to be honest. I'm mostly a PC gamer kind of a guy. Anyway, so I'm going to download Battlefront 2, and I'm going to start playing today. But that doesn't mean I haven't read up on a whole bunch about Star Wars Battlefront. Now, what I'm about to talk about here can be considered spoilers for Battlefront 2. Not the movies, the game, okay? So if you don't want to know anything about what happens in Battlefront 2, the game, then you may want to make this the end of the video for you until you come back to watch it after you've played Battlefront 2. Again, I haven't played it. This is just the stuff I've been reading, okay? I'm going to start playing it later today. But be warned, I'm about to talk about some stuff that I've learned and read about for Battlefront 2 and how it ties into the movies. If you are somebody who is, like, you play your games and you really love the story in your games and you don't want to know anything about Battlefront 2, tune out now. I'm giving you that warning right now. Full warning, okay? All right. With that big, giant spoiler warning given, here we go. Okay, so for most of us, even those of us who haven't played the game, we know who this is. This is Iden Versio, okay? She is the main character of the game. She's a leader of a crack commando troop in the Empire, all right? The fragments of the Empire as well. Now, throughout the game, her and one of her squad mates, I believe his name's Del, they, hook up, stuff like that. Long and the short of it, without going into huge detail, long and the short of it is, they go over to the rebellion. They meet on Jakku, and they have a daughter. And then a little bit later on, Del actually meets with Kylo Ren. I believe he's the one who points Kylo Ren in the direction of Lor Santeca, which is, again, is what then starts off the events of The Force Awakens and all that kind of stuff. So all that kind of stuff. So these two join the rebellion, meet, fall in love on Jakku, have a daughter that then becomes a mystery. So the big theory out there right now is that you are looking right now at Rey's mother. That is Rey's mother right there. That's the theory. So the question becomes, what do you guys think? Do you think we're looking at Rey's mother right there? Look, I mean, all the pieces, there are a lot of pieces that look like they can fit, and that doesn't necessarily mean that's the case. This is one of those situations where, hey, you know what? If you look at these pieces a certain way, it looks like they fit, but that doesn't necessarily mean what they're doing. It doesn't necessarily mean that's what they're doing. However, I would be down with this for a couple of reasons. I would be down with it for reason number one. It makes some of the story in the game actually very relevant to the movies. And I think that would be a cool thing if they did that. It's really nothing they've ever done before. Not on this level of relevance, because this would be a huge piece of relevant stuff. The second reason I kind of like the theory is that it kind of backs up what I have always thought, that Rey's parents are nobody we've ever met yet, and as of right now, not anybody of consequence. If it turns out that she is Rey's mother, then I actually would have been right about my theory that it's nobody we've met yet and nobody who within our scope of reference is anybody of any rather big significance. So that would have proved that theory correct. The fact of the matter that Jakku is there, it's a daughter, they tie in the Lor Santeca thing. I mean, there's a bunch here. Now, the one big thing, and I've heard some other people comment on this too, and I kind of agree with them. One of the big things that deters me from believing it is that who are Rey's parents has been one of the big floating mysteries surrounding Star Wars ever since The Force Awakens came out. And would they really use a video game to kind of reveal the answer to that mystery? Now, again, I never felt that the movies intended that to be a big mystery. I think they just played it out, and then we as a fan community made that the big issue, made that the big mystery. Because we never once heard in The Force Awakens Rey going, I wonder who my parents are. Like, nobody ever asked that, right? So I think we, the fans, have made it a bigger issue than they intended it to be, but still, it is a big issue with fans. Who are Rey's parents? And I just don't know that Lucasfilm and LucasArts and all them would make the video game the way that they reveal that big thing. I'm just not sure that's what they would do. But maybe it is. Now, again, all this stuff I'm getting secondhand. I'm getting all this information from other people. I'm going to start playing Battlefront 2 myself today. We'll see how far I can get through the story mode. But once I actually see this story play out, maybe I'll buy even more to it. Look, at this point, I'm willing to say this. I'll give it a full 50% chance that I believe this is Rey's mother. 50% chance this is Rey's mother. I reserve the right to adjust that belief once I get through the game mode myself and really see the nuance of it and see how, they drop the hints, see how they do all that kind of stuff, see how they handle it. But just reading it, it seems like this ain't like some kind of far-fetched thing. This could very well be possible. So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I want to know what you guys in the chat board right now. Is this Rey's mom? Just right now. Just take a look at this right now. Is this Rey's mother? I believe it is, but we'll have to just wait and find out to see if you think. Okay. So, jump in the comments. Let me know. I'm seeing some people yes. Some people are saying no. It looks like there was a little bit of lag on the live stream. Sorry about that. Okay, with all that now, I'm going to get ready to go to you guys who are watching live. You can start tweeting in your questions now. Send them in right now. And while you guys are starting to send those in, I'm going to do my little commercial break where I do my shameless plug about my Patreon campaign. Of course, my Patreon campaign is the only way I'm even able to do these videos in the first place. So here's a 1-minute commercial shameless plug break, and we'll be right back. For those of you who have followed me for any period of time, you guys know that I made the decision recently to leave the corporate overlords. I no longer wanted to work for corporations. I wanted to be an independent content creator. And the only way I've been able to do that is by the support of my Patreon supporters. So what I would like to do is to ask you guys who watch my shows, who spend any amount of time with me every single month, to consider going over to www.patreon.com/John Campea. There you'll get all the information about what exactly does it mean to be a Patreon supporter of mine? What does being a Patreon supporter do for helping to make sure that shows like this one and all the other shows I do here on my channel can actually be produced? And on top of that, what benefits are there to being a Patreon supporter? And maybe if you guys can check that out, if you decide you want to be one of my Patreon supporters, that would be awesome. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine too. I'm just happy that you guys have decided to be here today and be a fellow movie fan and join us in the conversation. So go and check out the website, see if you want to become a Patreon supporter. And now, let's get back. And we are back. Thank you again. A special thank you to all those of you who are already Patreon supporters. Again, you guys make it even possible for me to do what I'm doing. So thank you so much for being a part of that. All right, guys, I said we would go to your questions now, and that's what we're going to do. Let me open up my Twitter board here and get this all set up, and we will get to your live Twitter questions. And the first live Twitter question comes to us from, who does it come from? Miri Lover 1, who writes, John, thoughts on a romantic arc between Kylo and Rey? This could play out interestingly like light and dark cliches. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I don't think so. I do not think we're going to see a romance. I could be completely wrong about that. I think, look, there's enough there that it's not dumb to think that maybe they're going to have a romance. I don't think so, but it's not the stupidest thing in the world to think that they will. I don't think that's the direction they're going to be going. However, if they do, it does create some very interesting narrative paths they can go down if they want to. So, while I don't think that's what they're going to do, even I will admit, if they did it, it opens up some very interesting avenues that they could travel if they so chose. So it's kind of an interesting thing. We'll have to keep our eye on that. Let's see. This next one comes to us from Florian Stumpf, who writes, John, I'm so happy for you guys going to the world premiere of The Last Jedi. Thank you so much. I'm pretty happy too. Will there be a review right away? Well, it depends on when they lift the review embargo. As of right now, I have no idea when the review embargo is. Now, I can't imagine them still having a review embargo after the premiere because you've had people in the public there and you can't stop them from posting reviews. So I have a feeling that once I see the premiere, I'm going to be able to review it. I don't know that for sure yet. I'm going to honor whatever embargo that Disney puts in place, obviously. But my suspicion is that I'll probably be allowed to review it the moment I step out of the theater. And you know what? If that's the case, I may not even wait to get home to do the review. I just might grab my phone and connect it to YouTube and just start doing a review right there at the premiere. And we'll see how that goes. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay, let's try this. This one comes to us from Rachel1918, who writes, John, what do you think of the new EW coverage? It seems to prove that Rey and Kylo form an alliance. There's things I can't say. But look, Entertainment Weekly always does killer coverage of Star Wars. Always does killer Star Wars coverage. And always has killer Star Wars covers. And they always do such a great job. So I love the work that they're doing on that. As far as the other thing, we'll see. Okay, let's see this. The next one comes from Blu-ray Billy, who writes, John, were you more excited for Force Awakens or Phantom Menace? Hey, look, it's hard to describe how excited I was for The Force Awakens. But nothing will ever compare to how excited I was for The Phantom Menace. None of us ever thought we were ever getting any more Star Wars movies again. We thought it was done. When they came out and announced there's a new Star Wars movie coming, and Liam Neeson's going to be in it. It's like, what? And all this kind of stuff. I drove like over 1,000 miles. I'm not kidding. This is not an exaggeration. I got some people together. I was so excited about it that I didn't just want to see The Phantom Menace. I wanted to see it in my favorite movie theater, which was back in my hometown. And I wasn't living in my hometown at the time. I was living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Canada at the time. And we drove like 2 days to get there just so I could watch my most anticipated movie in my favorite movie theater. That's what I did. And so nothing will ever touch that. Nothing will ever touch that. So no matter how good or great everything else turns out to be, nothing will ever touch probably how excited, in movie terms, nothing will ever touch how excited I was to watch The Phantom Menace. So, look how that turned out. Anyway, let's see. This one comes to us from Sith Ichachi, who writes, John, do you want a Darth Sidious movie? I would love... Nope, don't want one. I mean, that's cool that you do, and if they did one, I would be there. I would totally be there opening day. But, again, I am over... Why does every movie have to be about characters we've already had? Why do we have to continue to shrink the Star Wars universe? Make it smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Let's make it big. The Star Wars universe is huge. We don't have to tell stories about people that we already know. And again, if they do it, I'll be excited and I'll be there. But I'm done. I want new stories. I want to explore this galaxy. I want to go to the furthest reaches of it. I want to go back in time and get some great old Republic stories. Let's not waste any more time on established character. Look, it already looks like we're getting Obi-Wan. Fine. And I'm sure that's going to be great. But I want to start making the universe bigger, not keep making it smaller. Just my thought. Okay, next one comes to us from Spider-Matt2, who writes, John, will you be disappointed if Rey's parents are revealed to be somebody predictable, a Skywalker or a Kenobi, etc.? No, look, I'm not going to be disappointed no matter what. I don't have any vested interest in who the parents turn out to be. I'll be surprised if it turns out to be a Skywalker. I'll be surprised if it turns out to be somehow related to Palpatine. I'll be surprised. I think they've done, and I think if they did that, it would be inconsistent with what they've already done in the universe, but whatever, I won't be disappointed. It is what it is. So I'm open to whoever they have. Seriously, I am. Let's see. Next one comes to us from All Questions New, writes, John, who won, Yoda or Palpatine? I always considered it a draw. I considered it a draw too. Look, if you had to say, hey, guess what, guys? Like if George Lucas says, hey, guys, somebody won that fight. One of them won. Who do you think it is? I'd probably have to say Sidious, but to me, I always viewed it as a draw. Like, Yoda found out what he had to find out, and it was just time to go. And he go. I mean, Sidious got in the last good shot, obviously, and then Yoda withdrew. But if you had to say one, no, you can't say it was a draw. You have to say one or the other one, then I have to go Sidious, because that's just what the eye test says. It just says that Sidious won. Let's see here. This one comes to us from Subatomic Freak, who writes, why do you think Rey was chosen to go find Luke? I think because Rey was the Force-sensitive one. And I think Leia detected that right away. And I think, I mean, she had Luke's lightsaber. I think they just decided that's probably why. Now, you'd think Leia would go. I'm still not really sure why Leia doesn't go and find her own brother. But you know, other than outside of that, hey, she's a Force user. Luke will trust Chewie. So it's not just a stranger showing up. And maybe the Resistance had a lot of work to do. Look, the core worlds of the Republic had just been destroyed. Right? Hosnian Prime was just destroyed. the seat of the government of the galaxy. I'm sure they had things they had to do, and they needed all their big guns on hand to start to reorganize the government, start putting the pieces back together. Let's not forget about that. A lot of people, when they talk about the events that happened right after The Force Awakens, we always forget, guys, Hosnian Prime, Washington, D.C., Ottawa, Canada, was just destroyed. And she, like Leia, is the general of the resistance. They've got a lot of work to do. So we've got a new Force user here that just helps save the day. She can go find him because she might have the best chance of finding him. And just in case Luke gets freaked out, let's send Chewie too. So that's how I interpreted it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you interpreted it differently, but that's how I saw it. Okay, next one comes to us from Gilligan Sean's 4, who writes, John, I'm with the idea of Iden being Rey's mother, but how is Rey so strong in the Force? How is anybody strong in the Force? Look, I keep having to have this discussion with people. Jedi, remember, the Jedi code is you couldn't, love. Jedi didn't have kids. Jedi were not born from other Jedi. Jedi were discovered. And they discovered them, and then they brought them to the temple to train them. When the other Force, Jedi were just born. You didn't have to be, Yoda's parents weren't Jedi. Yoda, who at that time, before other things happened, Yoda's the most powerful Jedi there is. He wasn't born from Jedi parents. Well, how could he be so strong in the Force? He just was. He just was. And so I don't think, the idea that we have to struggle to find, Rey's parentage has to be Force users. No, they do not. No, they don't. The entire history of Star Wars, going back to the Old Republic, says that it doesn't have to be. It can be. It totally can be that way, but it doesn't have to be at all. So no, I kind of reject the notion that it has to be a Force user in order to explain Rey being strong on the Force. Not at all. Not at all. So anyway, what's next here? This next one comes to us from the PC 1996, who writes, John, what do you think of the new canon comics and books? I personally really like them. They're hit and miss, to be honest with you. Vader Down was really, in the comics, they're more miss to me than hit, although Vader Down was really great. The novels are definitely hit and miss. There are some that are totally great. Bloodline, I mentioned, Lords of the Sith, Tarkin. I quite enjoyed Phasma. But then you get some other, the new Leia novel I didn't think was all that good. I didn't like the Battlefield novel. I certainly didn't like New Dawn. I certainly didn't. There are a few others that I just didn't care for as much. So some of them are great. Some of them not so much, a little bit hit and miss. The comics to me are a little bit more miss than hit, but that's just me. I know some people that absolutely love them, and that's great. Okay, next one comes to us from Number 1 Wonder Fan, who writes, John, do you think Disney would have the guts to make Poe and Finn a couple? Maybe, but I don't think it's a question of guts. It's just a question of, is that the right move? Is that what's really in store for them? Look, it would be odd to do that, especially considering that clearly, my biggest problem with that is that they've already established Finn is clearly heterosexual. I mean, that's the only problem I have with that, is that they have clearly shown that Finn's into Rey. I mean, they made that clear. So he's totally heterosexual. So it would just at this point, it would feel forced to me for them to do that. So, and if they do it, fine, I don't care. If they don't do it, fine, I don't care. Again, the only problem I have is they've already now with Poe, they haven't shown one way or the other whether he's heterosexual or homosexual. So you can do anything you want with that character. It doesn't bother me. But with Finn, the one problem I have is they've already established that he is heterosexual. So that's just kind of the way I see it. That's the only issue I would have. Let's see. This one comes from the filmmaker YT writes, John, also, I love Star Wars and movies in general. Well, awesome. So do I. Next one coming to us from Kikikiko writes, John, thoughts on new Force abilities from Legends being reintroduced in the new upcoming movies? I don't know. You want to be careful. There's something great about sticking with the classic construct of the mythology. And the stuff in Legends, some of the stuff in Legends got a little bit goofy. I mean, really far kind of wacky out there, which is one of the good reasons why they kind of reset the canon and stuff like that. So, I don't know, like to me, there's something really special about sticking with the classic construct of the mythology. So I would prefer to stay that way, but if they can come up with a creative way to introduce some of that wacky stuff and make it fit, I'm all for it. All right. Let's see. This one comes to us from Sergio W008, who writes, John, what will the fate of the Rebels characters be at the end of the Rebels season? Hey, you know what? I just watched the Rebels mid-season finale. I got to say, the first half of this season of Rebels, I think is the best half of a season they've ever done. Honestly. And like last season, I was starting to teeter on Rebels a little bit, to be honest with you. Yeah, they had a couple of great episodes, but they had a lot of terrible episodes last year too. Like almost unwatchable. This season has been balls. Like just awesome. I have loved this season of Rebels so far. To me, I cannot point to a single weak episode. Every episode, every beat to me of this season has been right on the mark, and I have loved it. Absolutely loved it. Where will they be at the end of the series? My belief is still what it has always been. Bad things are coming. Hera obviously makes it because she's in Rogue One. The Ghost makes it because we see it in Rogue One. We saw Chopper in Rogue One. So Hera, Chopper, and the Ghost, they all make it. Not so much Kanan. I think Ezra, something bad's going to happen to Ezra. As far like Zeb, I think he's going to die. Hera obviously makes it. Sabine, I don't know, maybe just Sabine leaves. There's a good option here that Sabine just leaves and goes back to Mandalore and just removes herself from the Star Wars story arc. That's possible. But for the rest of them, I think bad things are lying ahead. Some tragic, hard, heroic tragedy lies ahead for our faithful crew of Star Wars Rebels. All right, guys, that will do it. And you know what, guys? I'm going to let you guys know. We set a record today for live Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Today is the first time ever on Star Wars Talk Tuesdays that we broke over 1,000 live viewers watching Star Wars Talk Tuesdays. Round of applause for all you guys. Thank you guys so much. That's awesome. I never actually thought we would get over 1,000 live viewers for Star Wars Talk Tuesdays right smack in the middle of the day. And yet here you are. Thank you guys for being here. That's really awesome. So what do you guys think about all the Star Wars topics that we talked about here today? Jump down to the comment section, dudes, and let me know your thoughts. Of course, I want to let you guys know about this too. I think I mentioned this on the John Campea show the other day, but some of you may not know this. So, hey, look, when I started up my YouTube channel again back in June, I figured at best June of 2018, but probably closer to November, maybe December of 2018, is how long it would take us to get to 100,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Well, guess what? As of right now, I think we're only 1,300 away from 100,000. It's probably going to happen in the next week or so that we're going to cross that 100,000 mark. And I'm not going to get emotional. I'm really excited about that. And I'm overwhelmed by the support that you guys have given me, both on the John Campea Show, Star Wars Talk Tuesday, all the other videos we've done here. I'm just so grateful. So, hey, do me a favor, guys. If you're somebody who watches regularly, but you haven't subscribed yet, help push us over that finish line. Go click on that subscribe button, become a subscriber to the YouTube channel, click the thumbs up button, leave your thoughts below, follow me on social media, all that good stuff. And of course, just keep interacting and being film fans and being Star Wars fans. It's the most fun thing in the world, guys. So that'll do it for me, guys. Thanks so much for joining me. My name's John Campea, and until the next video, bye-bye.